so far Lightnin Woodcock has been more or less a pornographic blues man. There's some social commentary in there, but more than anything, it's just kind of like it's humor. And I intend to approach some serious topics probably with some sort of humor, but that's a interesting tightrope to walk of how do you. I think that is the way to do it, though. The spoonful of honey to help the medicine go down. So I haven't put out a Lightning Woodcock record in 10 years.
This is Rob Ruckus.
Hey, this is Kate Clover.
Hey guys, it's Nick Collins here from The Effect and Better Strangers.
Hi, my name is Madeline Rose.
Hey, it's Ben McKelvey.
It's Tim Howard here from Mike and the Mechanics.
Hello, I'm Amanda Lehman.
I'm Billy Harvey.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Casey Sampson from the band Twist Stop.
Hey, it's Tony from Fastball.
Hello, everybody. My name is Isaiah Mitchell.
Hey, guys, it's Matt here from the White Lakes.
You're listening to Almost Famous Magazine.
Come join us for this interview. Check it out, Almost Famous Magazine.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to The Hang right here on Almost Famous Magazine. Thanks for your subscriptions to the channel. Thanks for the comments you leave below. We make sure that every artist that we hang with learns that you've got them, and maybe you've got a question after you watch this, make sure to ask it down below. Today, I'll be honest with you that we got someone absolutely amazing. I'm like in awe of this gentleman, okay? We've got Lightnin Bill Woodcock, who's been a standout in the LA music scene for, well, we don't have to count the number of years, but his sound is amazing. He blends like filthy punk and modern blues. He is more than willing to cover provocative themes in his lyrics. He had a debut album in 2011, Ride the Lightning. There were some tracks on there like the Dog, Cheatin' Pig, Finger Bangin'. He runs the gambit. He is very socially active, which I think is amazing. He's got a real rebellious tone. He's unapologetic about it, and he's drawn on a ton of great influences. I've now bolstered up his ego. I'm fortunate to have him here because of the coverage we did at Punk Rock Bowling Weekend, where he was performing with LA Slumlords. You've seen them here on The Hang before, and I was like, we can't finish up the band without some Lightnin. So, Lightnin, welcome to The Hang.
Thank you, Scott. It's a pleasure to see you again.
It's great to see you. I mean, you just came off tour with what, Bow Wow Wow, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, a nice 5-week run around North America as part of the Totally Tubular Festival tour. And that's where I last saw you. Yeah.
Yeah, that was quite the lineup. And it seemed like a lot of fun, right? It seemed like there are serious musicians, and then there's like fun musicians, and you guys look like you were having a blast out there.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think every band on that lineup was in the fun category.
Nice,
for sure.
Nice. Better to have a fun time on the road than let it be dreary, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And what a fun tour that was. All those legendary acts that have everybody knows their music, and to spend a few weeks on the road with them was quite a treat.
Isn't it amazing? I mean, we're gonna just start off out of the gate here, talking about this because that's something that fascinates me. I was at that show, and when you look at the lineup, it was Thompson Twins, Thomas Dolby, Bow Wow Wow, Men Without Hats. Who else was on it?
Tommy Two-Tone.
Right.
Wang Chung. You didn't have Wang Chung. You had the Tubes, right? The Tubes.
Right. The Tubes, Wang Chung. I mean, and if you followed those bands originally, you probably know their names. But depending on when you got into their music, you may know their music, love it, and not know the name. You heard it out in public or whatever. And the coolest thing was listening to people going, "Wow, I didn't know that band did that song."
Yeah. A lot of that. Yeah, it was a lot of that. And for sure, there were at least one song per band that everybody in North America knows. I at least say over a certain age.
Yeah, right.
And many of bands have several songs that are like, oh, like you said, I didn't realize that Thompson Twins did this song, for example, or the band that really took me by surprise, that how much I ended up really loving them, was Modern English. What an amazing sound they have cultivated. I loved them.
Yeah. No, I mean it. And it's like, you think about, like, you were playing with Bow Wow Wow, and the songs in their catalog are so much more than just "I Want Candy."
Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of really, if you put put the time into listening to Bow Wow Wow's albums, they're very rewarding. They're just dense with so much, really just rich with multicultural sounds, all blended together in a way that you've never heard unless you've listened to Bow Wow Wow.
Now, let me ask you this: were you with Bow Wow Wow back in the heyday, or is this something new for you?
No, I've been playing with Annabella for probably roughly about 7 years.
Ah, okay, yeah. I mean, the history of that band, just coming out of what happened with Adamant, is an incredible story, right? Because people don't understand that the original sound of Bow Wow Wow. And they're like, wait a minute, it sounds like Adamant. And then Adamant changed gears because he lost the band. So it's a really interesting historical story.
It is, yeah. I wasn't aware of all the details until I started playing and looked into it. I knew that Malcolm McLaren was at the helm, but I wasn't aware that he had gone and stolen Adam's band. And
I know back in the day, it was kind of like, the Brill Building in New York had these backroom writers, right? And Malcolm McLaren would build these bands and then swap out members all the time. And it really got interesting when you're, in that early kind of punk scene in London. Hey, what we're here to talk about though is you. So let's get back to you. One of the things that I really love getting into is starting at the beginning, right? Like, did you find music, or did music find you? What was that initial spark, and how did that bloom into where you are today?
Well, it's a little of both, I would say. But having music, around, just playing on the radio, growing up as a kid in the early 70s, just came into awareness of a lot of really magical sounding music, because the stuff that was on the radio at that time was rather amazing. And by way of growing up as a kid in the 70s, I also became fascinated with KISS, and that was sort of a religious experience. Not quite. I wasn't in the KISS army, but I was pretty much a fanatic, and from there I got into Devo, and really latched on to them and what they were about, and just the aesthetic of punk rock was extremely appealing to me. And I went and saw Devo as a first concert, and saw ACDC as my second concert. Both in the 1981, 82.
Opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, opposite ends of the spectrum. And I'd fantasized a lot about being a musician, because that's what kids do, right? and I all along that path, I thought of myself as a bass player. So, I was into Gene Simmons. I thought Jerry and Devo was a pretty smart guy.
Yeah.
And I just like that the whole role of bass in the band. So that actually changed at the time that I saw ACDC and decided that guitar was the thing that I wanted to do. But I didn't really start. It just kind of stayed in the dreaming phase for a while, until I had a situation. My family moved to Germany, and just some family drama, blah blah blah. Ran away from home, came back, and realized I really needed something at that time to help me with mental health, and I landed on guitar. There was one in the house that my dad had and never played, And so I finally put it to use and started learning how to play Motorhead, ACDC, and Black Sabbath. Those were the first three bands that I really started to put my ear up to a speaker and go, what are those guys doing? And how do I make this acoustic guitar sound like that? Impossible, right? So then my parents got me the SG copy, because that did pretty much everything, like AC/DC and Black Sabbath for sure. All I needed was an SG for that aesthetic, and kind of went from there. Well, I guess I took a turn in high school as I was learning how to play music. I got involved in musical theater. I started doing plays, and those. So my very first performances, I think the only time in my life that I had stage fright was doing those plays in high school, and I really loved the stage. And I actually ended up doing a whole tour around Europe, doing two plays, two musicals in high school. And that was my first touring experience.
Wow.
But I was at a crossroads in my senior year of high school, because I had the potential to go on and continue pursuing acting, but my heart was really in music, and that's where I made the decision to, rather than try to endeavor on both ends, I just put all my eggs in the music basket, and what a drag that is, huh?
Look, music, the pursuit of music is never, or any art really, is never the easiest of things.
Yeah, no, it really
phenomenally rewarding, even if you don't find huge success, but, not the easiest things.
No success, music can be rewarding in the privacy of your own bedroom or whatever. And that's, most of my best playing is done in that context. So it can be very rewarding to just do it as a private, personal expression. But yeah, it's a completely different ballgame when you get on stage, whether it's in a bar room or on a real stage, like a festival stage or something. And you get to interact with a body of people, a crowd of people, and feed off that energy and try to give them your energy. And it's the most amazing thing in the world.
So you make a decision to pursue music. What were some of the first kind of experiences you had trying to hone your craft and kind of break in?
Well, as a young adult in Los Angeles, I started some local bar bands, play around the Hollywood scene in the San Fernando Valley, with some bands like I had a band called Psychedelicatessen for many years. That was sort of a genre hopping band, because we were into all kinds of different music. So we tried to play as many different styles as we could. And then when a band like Mr. Bungle came out, then we really that's what we're all about. Look at what those guys are doing. So let's copy what they're doing. So, and also, I think we were really inspired by the Beastie Boys, So we were doing some rap rock right around the same time that Rage Against the Machine came out, who we did not copy, but we're great admirers of what they were doing at that time. So that was sort of the my baby pictures of bands. That was my first. Because I didn't really have a real high school band. It wasn't, like I said, it was more of a musical theater thing in high school. But when I moved to LA, it was all about getting a band going. And I had a few, aside from Psychedelicatessen. The other noteworthy one that did a little bit was a band called Foreign Object, and it was a concept, like a performance art band that featured pro wrestling mixed with punk rock. And our singer.
Wait, I hate to interrupt you, but you sure you weren't in the Smashing Pumpkins? Because that's what Billy Corgan's doing these days, wrestling and rock. So.
Is he really?
Yeah.
I wasn't aware that his career had taken that turn.
He is obsessed with wrestling. So I'm sorry, you hit me with that topic. I'm like, wait a minute. Maybe he got the idea from you. He now owns his own pro wrestling league.
Oh, good for him. Well, Insane Clown Posse has also had their own for decades. Actually, I think they were even a wrestling federation before they were a rap group. I could be wrong, but if I remember their chronology, I thought maybe they were wrestlers before they were rappers. But in our case, we had a gentleman by the name of Stephan X De Leon, who's no longer with us. He was a teenager who dropped out of high school to become a pro wrestler, and it worked. He was a WWF. It was at the time. He was a small guy that wrestled all the big guys, and he hit me up a few times over the years. He was a fan of Psychedelic Test, and he hit me up a few times over the years to do a punk rock wrestling band, a concept which I was not immediately excited about, but the more we talked about it, I got really enthused, and we started writing these songs together. And we got to do a lot of fun and incredibly strange wrestling gigs up in San Francisco. Incredibly Strange Wrestling was the name of the promotion, actually, ISW, and that led to us kind of tagging along with ISW on some Lollapalooza dates in 1995. We had to play up in Washington State and Irvine Meadows. We never really put out an album or anything, but we did, get to play with some of our heroes like Fear and Dickies and that sort of thing, Cool. And we the whole project ended over 20 years ago when our singer died in a motorcycle accident, and it was his idea, and it was just inconceivable to continue on without him.
So now you're posed with a challenge, right? You lost your lead singer. What came next? How did you recover from that and move forward?
Well, what came next was I would say I really got the blues. That whole situation with his death and the ripples that it sent in the social circles in which I worked and everything. It just it definitely I ended up retreating into a different scene, which was more I would say wasn't exactly music based. It was more metaphysical. The scene in which to which I retreated. I ended up moving out of state, lived on a mountain for a little bit, off the grid with my son, and then came back to LA, and eventually started playing with a couple of bands. I had kind of hemmed and hawed for some time. Do I want to start a band? Do I want to join a band? And I ended up kind of doing both. I had some friends that hit me up and offered to do a recording. They had a pretty nice home studio at the time. It was in a garage, and it was an 8-track analog studio. This is back in 2006. And they said, you have some material you want to record. Why don't you come over? We'll drum. There was one guy who was a drummer. The other one was a bass player. Said, we'll be your rhythm section, and we'll record you. And there was no way I could say no. So I went and recorded what would become like the first Lightnin Woodcock material, and demos that would later become re-recorded for Ride the Lightnin'. And so I made that recording with them, but didn't have a band. The reason why they were dismantling their studio was because they were moving out of LA. So they were out of the question, and I didn't really have anybody in mind to play the stuff that I had recorded. So I ended up getting invited to join two different bands. One was a rock band called the Bourbon Saints, who are actually still together. They're still a local LA band. And I was invited to join another band called Ms. Derringer, which was a kind of an art rock band led by artist Liz McGrath and her husband Morgan Slade. And I joined both of those bands, started playing LA club scene immediately with both of them, and then Miss Derringer started doing a little bit of touring. And it occurred to me that I wanted to, start playing the Lightnin Woodcock stuff. And I had given it to people that I was playing with, not really trying to fish for players from those bands, but the bass player from one band and the drummer from the other band both said, hey, if you ever want to play that stuff live, I'm your guy. So I was like, okay, cool. And I started putting shows together. And then around that time, I got contacted by Captain Sean Wheeler from a band called Throw Rag. And he was in a band at that time called Charlie Horse. Sean wanted to hit the road with Charlie Horse, and their guitarist couldn't do all the dates that they wanted to book. So Sean hit me up, and I was considering doing a tour with them, and it didn't really work out. There was some conflict that prevented me from committing. And so unfortunately, Charlie Horse broke up right about that time. They ended up not doing the tour at all. And so I got the call from Sean, like, don't worry about it. It's cool you can't do the tour, but just wondering if maybe you'd be interested in doing this other thing with me. And it's a band called Sun Trash. He had recordings of that were some really fun desert rock music. Just really, really cool stuff that were songs that he had written and recorded with the likes of Troy Van Leeuwen, and Chris Goss was on some of it, and Dave Ketching, just pretty much he made this record with all of his desert buddies and wanted to tour playing the music. Not with the people that he recorded it with, but with let's put a band together and go around the country playing these songs. And we did a tour with the Super Suckers, and we did another tour with a band called Goon Moon, which featured Chris Goss and Jordy White from Marilyn Manson, and Fred Sablon from Marilyn Manson, who plays with Deftones now. And we did a couple of tours with Sun Trash, and Sean became instantly one of my favorite people in the world. He is to this day. We're close friends, and we talk pretty often. And that is a band that has kind of showed its head every so often, where we will do a little bit, not touring anymore, but we've done some local LA shows and some stuff in the desert, and that is just among my favorite things I've ever gotten to do in my life, is play alongside Sean in Sun Trash. So back to what was January 2007 with Cody James, the drummer of Miss Derringer, and Ronnie James, coincidentally, the bass player from Bourbon Saints. I started playing around the LA club scene at places like Cat Club and the Viper Room, right there on the Strip mostly, and a few other places. The Derby which was around back then, no longer around, and just started to do everything I could to maintain being in all of those bands. The Bourbon Saints was the first one to drop out. I had to stop playing with them first, and then eventually, I think I spent about 2 years with Miss Derringer, and started doing a little bit of touring with Lightnin Woodcock, West Coast tour, and then a U.S. tour in 2009, recorded the Ride the Lightnin album, but didn't put it out until 2010, I think. It came. I think we recorded it in 2008, but it came out in 2010.
So you put that album together, and it sounds like it was a very long gestation process. It took years. You wrote these songs over a long period of time and finally got them together on an album. I'm curious, what's your favorite on the album?
That's an excellent question. I like just the intro, really, the sound that we got with the harmonica and just the vocal sound, everything pretty much just on that intro, Like a Dog. If I had to pick a favorite, it's like the first minute of the record. It's all downhill from there.
Well, yeah, and the reason I ask is, I mean, that your songs are like children, and you were living with them for a while.
Right. Yeah, it's true. It's true. And to be fair, some of them I started writing even years before that. I told you I recorded them in 2006, but some of them I had been writing since maybe 98. And it was like started writing and playing them around the house and working on them. So yeah, it definitely was some years. And I would say during that time, probably my favorite was Cheatin' Pig.
Why?
Cheatin' Pig was one that I kind of put a lot of work into, trying to make the structure interesting, bluesy, and sort of like psychobilly. But I was trying desperately not to sound cliche or anything. I was never really trying to be part of the rockabilly or the psychobilly scene. And I wasn't trying to be part of the punk scene either, but the LA punk scene was what embraced Lightnin Woodcock, for obvious reasons. And I think, and definitely I've never been embraced by the blues scene because I'm not a serious blues guy. I mean, I seriously love the blues and I seriously love playing it, but I don't have that same makeup, or I have the repertoire of blues standards at my fingertips. I don't have any of that. I don't know the lyrics to anybody else's blues songs pretty much, which is a drag, I mean, I know like Red House, but I don't want to mangle Red House. And I know some Stevie Ray Vaughan lyrics and whatnot, because I grew up as a teenager listening to that stuff, but and I still do listen to it. I don't mean to dismiss it, but I also don't want to be the guy that's, playing half-assed Stevie Ray Vaughan covers. So I've never really gone down that road. Yeah, there's Prince.
So, Prince of the Cat. But let me ask you this. You decide to do something that's not this, not that, not the other thing. Where did you draw on to say, okay, I'm going to take pieces of influences and create my own thing? Like, because you may not be a blues master, but it has that blues, it's got the feel, it's got the passion. And maybe blues, that's the key, that could be the key part. But how did you choose to bring things together, to turn them into something that was new and different, unique, so that it was yours?
Well, I was inspired by so many different things, I mean, really, in terms of blues guys, some of the ones that, like, to me, ACDC is a blues band, and that's, and so is Led Zeppelin. They're very, very much blues band. I mean, they're explicitly blues bands because they have just straight up songs like they Save the Jack, or say by ACDC, or I Can't Quit You Babe by Led Zeppelin. Those are straight up blues songs, but they also what they're known for, the styles that they've each crafted are hybrid styles of blues and hard rock. So and Captain Beefheart was a big inspiration at the time, and Tom Waits and those guys. So it definitely, I knew I wasn't going to go down the road of playing normal blues, but I definitely had the blues. Like I said, after the death of Stefan and a lot of other things that went on, my marriage had already been split up, but you know, I had some really hard times with my ex-wife. So I had to put that somewhere, and of course, having also you know, a punk rock background with Foreign Object and others, it really only made sense to fuse the two of those together. And that's, you know, when I just play blues, when I try to play blues, it just comes out punky anyways, you know. I'm trying. Finally, I have a friend named Mike whom I give guitar lessons to. He's a lawyer. He owns a law firm down in LA. And it's always been his dream to participate in blues jams. So I've been giving him lessons for years, and we started going to this blues jam down in South LA. It's really awesome. It's kind of like it's very much like a juke joint, you know.
Nice.
It's in the hood, and it's like a garage that's been converted into a juke joint. It's in a residential neighborhood, and every Sunday they have an incredible blues jam that goes off, where I am absolutely 100% intimidated to participate. But my friend Mike has inspired me to get up there and face my fears. And I've gone back a second time, and I intend to keep going back. I just have been busy with other stuff, but that's a way that's something that's really kind of been whetting my appetite for more writing and performing more blues in the future.
Do you think that helps with creativity? Like, do you think that because you're driving yourself to do something different and learn music in another area, that it's really helping you drive additional creativity and ideas to keep you emotionally and mentally healthy and to challenge yourself?
I do think that's the case. I get that kind of inspiration from, you know, a lot of things, but yeah, that's one source. You know, I guess maybe that's a good segue to talk about what I spend a lot of my time off stage doing, which is going into correctional facilities with an organization called Jail Guitar Doors, where we do songwriting workshops with incarcerated people as part of their rehabilitation. So, you know, we all, those of us that are on the teaching end of the program, we all have the experience where, you know, music has saved us, has kept us out of trouble, and been a positive, has had a positive impact on our collective mental health. So we're taking that theory into the jails. Jail Guitar Doors has they do a lot of the same workshops in juvenile detention halls, and over the years we've expanded that into after-school programs. So, or you don't have to actually be in trouble to work our programs. We do them in after-school programs and community centers and that kind of context. But for me, a lot of the most rewarding work is what I'm doing inside Twin Towers, and recently started doing inside Men's Central Jail, where we go in and we do these songwriting workshops. And I find it's a pretty incredible process, because we get into each teaching artist gets into a group with, say, maybe 7 incarcerated artists, and we proceed to write a song right then and there on the spot. And every week, I think it's a miracle that we get a song done in, you know, 60 to 90 minutes. And then at the end of the writing session, each group, we will actually have 3 different groups writing, and those 3 groups will come together and perform our songs for each other. And it helps to show them how to deal with complex emotions in a non-confrontational manner, you know, by writing about it. the the inmates, their respect for each other grows tremendously, and you see them. There's an actual literal transformation from where people are when they first join our program and where they are at when they're performing their songs at the graduation ceremony at the end of a semester. And you've got the brass there. Oftentimes, you've got media there filming and interviewing them, and it's really an amazing thing to be part of. And I'm very fond of saying that it's one of my favorite things that I get to do, because I do some really fun shit, really fun stuff on stage or whatever, travel around, blah, blah, blah. But it's kind of counterintuitive to think like going into jail is one of my favorite things to do. But I really do leave there every time feeling like, feeling like I'm not just serving myself, and that's kind of our I feel like our society encourages us to just look out for ourselves.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you about society in a minute, but I got to tell you that I got chills. That's got to be just so rewarding to be able to give back of yourself that way.
Yeah, it really is, and giving back is exactly what it is. I mean, that's sort of for me. Even though I'm living out a dream that that started decades ago, I'm really at this point in my life just trying to somehow give back and in hopes that others can receive what music gave to me, and I don't really have any crazy like delusions about rock stardom or anything like that. I just think that in whatever form it arrives in your ears, if it's the right music at the right time, it can be extremely impactful, and it can literally save a person.
I'm going to make sure that in the description we've got some information about that program for sure.
Yeah, by all means. I mean, there's a lot more to talk about with them. They have a facility in Los Angeles called the Capo Center that's also worth looking into, and that is where we're trying to give youth additional help once they get out. And the ones that we meet and work with inside the camps, once they get out, most of the times the tendency is to go right back into gangs and whatnot. And this gives them an alternative. We have a place where they can get some resources. A lot of them end up becoming paid interns, and then now the next level that they're working on is they just receive funding for housing. We're trying to establish a halfway house for artists that get out of incarceration and are eligible and need the help that we can provide. It's a great thing to be a part of. It's really,
Dude, that's fantastic.
I mean, disrupt the cradle to the grave, the cradle to the prison pipeline.
Right. Yeah, no, that's incredible. I mean, that segues into. I mean, for anyone who's listened to your music or follows you on social media, you are very socially active. What drives that within you, and how does that influence you and your creativity as well?
Well, that kind of the last part of your question kind of remains to be seen, because so far Lightnin Woodcock has been more or less a pornographic blues man. There's some social commentary in there, but more than anything, it's just kind of like it's humor, and I intend to approach some serious topics probably with some sort of humor, but that's a interesting tightrope to walk. About how do you I think that is the way to do it, though. The spoonful of honey to help the medicine go down. So I haven't really I haven't put out a Lightnin Woodcock record in 10 years. The last one was Satan's Work Is Never Done Volume 2, which is only available on Bandcamp. But I would say out of everything I've done, my favorite record is Satan's Work Is Never Done Volume 1. And
So, are you working currently on another album?
So I have not been, but I actually just recently did first Lightnin Woodcock show in 5 years. I did a couple of little appearances in 2020 that I wouldn't call real shows, but the last real Lightnin Woodcock show previously was a 420 party, April 20th, 2019. And then in 2020, I decided to I decided to put Lightnin to rest and do some other stuff, which led to me joining the Outlaw Mariachi, a band I played with for a couple of years. Most recently, back in June, I did a show with Blackie Pagano on bass and a Dallas musician, Scott Shirilla, on the drums. And we did all the old stuff from the old records. And we're talking now about working on some new material together. So that's, like I said, remains to be seen how much of what I'm about as a an activist. Will that actually appear in my music? Yeah, I'm sure it will. I just I don't know the form yet.
So we should be on the lookout for the evolution of Lightnin Bill Woodcock.
Yeah. I mean, Lightnin's been evolving for sure, over the years. I would say Satan's Work is Never Done Volume 2 is pretty different than Volume 1. But that's where the evolution stopped, because I think I only wrote and recorded one more song after that, which is yet to be released. But yeah, I am inspired to do more stuff in the near future. What I have worked on most recently is an album by a band called Fingernail. That's Bruce Duff, who is a local LA staple on the scene, has put together a band of talented people that he invited me. I think I was the last person to get invited to participate the year before last, and it's really hard to remember chronology. I think maybe it was early last year. Worked on 4 songs with them, and then this year we did an additional 5. So I think there's a 9-song album that is about to be mastered, and I don't know when that's going to drop. But that's the most recent original material that I worked on, and excited to have that come out.
Cool. Let's touch a little bit more on mental health, because it's a fascinating topic, and I can tell that it's something you hold pretty dear. You got into music in the mid 70s, and the business has changed a lot. How do you see meeting other artists these days and seeing what's going on there? That how has the mental health of artists changed? Do you think it's for the better, for the worse? The pressures that are on now that the business has changed so dramatically, and what do you see that it's doing to people that might not actually be productive for the career?
Well, that's a question that I tend to apply to society at large. I think that we're kind of navigating through times of collective mental illness. I think I hesitate to say everybody suffers from it, but it seems like large swaths of the population have many issues, and I'm certainly not qualified to point out people's faults or their conditions. I'm trying to figure out my own my own mental health, and that's something that you're right, I do hold near and dear, because it's something that that I feel like it's an everyday struggle for a lot of us, especially people that lean towards the empathic side. Living in really violent times can be really really challenging to see somebody to see somebody at the hands of police brutality or whatever. Very, very difficult, triggering, very triggering. So I think that the music industry, I think that the social media, they are full of people that are struggling with issues. Again, I work with I work with some people and count myself among them. Where if you're on the road for extended periods of time, it does make it challenging to find inner peace. Let's say, or there are a myriad of issues that a person can encounter. And fortunately, I've been noticing more and more there are mental health resources posted in green rooms at venues where we know that touring is hard on you, and we're here to help, that sort of thing. And thanks to groups like Backline and Music Cares and whatnot, there are resources available, and they're needed. They're desperately needed. I know from seeing, again, the people I work with and the bands that we tour with. There's a lot of substance abuse, sex addiction, and that sort of stuff. A lot of destructive behaviors, and then what social media does to us. The dangers that it poses to young people who are, extremely impressionable and suggestible. Yeah. It's another reason why I feel grateful to have a place at the Jail Guitar Doors family, because they also provide mental health resources. They have a healing circle that they do on Fridays, and for the youth there, and there are professional counselors there guiding the healing circles and whatnot. And I've seen it get really deep. I've seen it get really deep over there, and it's helpful. It's been helpful to me. When I've neglected to mention that the nonprofit was started by Wayne Kramer, most famously known for his work with the MC5. He started Jail Guitar Doors USA, following in Billy Braggs' footsteps, who has the organization in the UK. Did you see Billy Bragg at Punk Rock Bowling?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. I never had a chance to see him before.
Yeah, so I guess Wayne and Billy were doing a show in prison together for the inmates. And and Wayne saw a Jail Guitar Door sticker on Billy Bragg's guitar case and was like, "What's that all about?" And he told him, "What's an organization that we have? We do songwriting workshops and jails and whatnot." And Wayne's like, "I know what that is. That's the song that's written about me." There's the Clash song, Jail Guitar Doors, and the first verse is about Wayne being put in jail for having sold cocaine to an undercover officer. So Wayne said, "I want to do that too," and he started Jail Guitar Doors USA with his wife Margaret. And it's a beautiful organization. It deserves support. If you're watching this and you think that you might want to get involved, there are many ways that you can donate or maybe even come in and do the songwriting workshops with us. Since Wayne's death, it's been expanding rapidly. So after Wayne died, I definitely went into a hard period of mourning for him, and the floodgates kind of opened for a lot of other people that I'd lost that I hadn't really dealt with. And I'm really grateful to that Capo Center and the healing circle that they have there, and the counselors there. So it's just another resource that Wayne provided for the community that these individuals really need, and they put to good use.
That's incredible.
Really, yeah,
that's really, really incredible. Wow. Definitely gonna put the information down below, and yeah, again, if music is dear to you and helping people who really need it is, please consider what you can do for them. I think that's great. Yeah, so we Punk Rock Bowling Weekend was amazing, and you were there playing with LA Slumlords, and we've had a couple of them on the hang, and I'm interested in your opinion. Of everybody in the band, who do you think had the best time performing that show? Because you guys, everybody had different looks, and it was really incredible. But who do you think had the best time, like that absolutely ate it up?
Well, having been in the zone, right? I was there doing my own thing. I can't say that I was really paying attention to, every moment, what everybody was doing. But I mean, I would have to say James Cross was probably I anticipate that he was the happiest up there, just because he is so passionate. Not that everybody else isn't. Patty the singer is particularly passionate. They're the perfect partners in crime. The two of them. They are they're definitely they're perfect for each other in terms of running a rock and roll band, and how they interact on a creative level, and how they're passionate about their politics, and everything is I think what makes them wonderful. James is he lives and breathes LA Slumlords. I mean, it's just coming out of every pore with him. That's why I want to say it was probably James. But what's your, because I know Patty the bass player, who was right next to me, was just like a beacon of energy. He definitely had the most, like, the happiest vibe. But the what I sensed from James is like, here we are, we've all worked really hard to get there, and he was having his moment there on that stage. So what's your opinion? What did you think?
It's interesting because I observe concerts through my lens, right?
Right.
And by the way, James, if you're watching this, you've been warned. Patty said, give Scott a call. Giz said, you got to do this. Come on, buddy. It's time. We're running out of people in the band. But
what are you waiting for, James?
I have a picture of Giz and playing, and I have this thing when I photograph drummers. Most of them have what I call drummer face.
Yeah. The
tongue is hanging out, wagging like a puppy. It's all contorted and weird. I have never taken a picture of someone who just looked so damn happy to be in a moment than this one photo I have of Giz. I mean, and when we talked about it, he loved it. He was like so in the moment and loved being there with everybody. And the photo expresses it for sure. I mean, because I know Patty, Patty was telling me that she's a little stressed. She's a little stressed. It took getting on stage to kind of melt that all away. But everyone looked like they were having fun. But this picture of Giz, of him just looking like a kid in a candy store, is it's just incredible. So
talk about somebody who's always like been working hard for decades. Giz and I played together a couple of times in Foreign Object. He subbed on drums back in once in the 90s and once in the 2000s.
we got a bit of a running joke going because He was in For Sale, Foreclosure, LA Slumlords. I thought for sure that during the day his gig was real estate. Because he was keeping the theme for the names of the bands. So
yeah, there's For Sale, Foreclosure, and Foreign Object are three out of four bands.
Yeah.
That kid on drums.
Yeah, Giz is great. Giz is great. And that whole festival, I can't wait till next year. I mean, it was really, I mean, between Devo and Madness and all these just amazing bands, and then the young bands coming up. Kate Clover, she's absolutely incredible, and of all the bands I met, she has the most control over her image, and she's really dialed in on the whole package. She's incredible. She's coming to my area pretty soon. I'm looking forward to seeing her, and I can't wait for Punk Rock Bowling next year for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, I really liked Nice. Love Nice and Slaughterhouse. Dead Bob, which was the No Means No offshoot featuring John Wright and Descartes et Kant.
Yeah.
Yeah, that band is something else from Mexico City. Really cool. Sort of Devo-ish imagery, like a retro futuristic image, but the sound is very, very modern. It doesn't sound like Devo. It sounds I recommend checking that band out, Descartes et Kant. Their new record. I forgot what it's called. It's got a pink cover. After Destruction. It's called After Destruction. Yeah.
I mean, they really did a good job of, and I think this is hard in music these days. Correct me if I'm wrong, but music has been around for generations and eons. But finding a way to create a secret sauce that gains you attention, someone goes, that's just really different, and it feels good to listen to it without it being too dissonant, right?
Right.
Just really is incredible, and it's got to be so hard. It's got to be so hard to figure that out.
It is, absolutely, yeah. You either have to have superb music, which most of us don't, or something that is so distinctive that it resonates with people.
Yeah. I'm always curious. You've had an illustrious career. You've played with a ton of bands, a lot of people in all, at all stages in their career. But if you could get into a studio with one musician and spend a day creating together, doesn't matter what comes out of it, but just creating, who would that one person that you want to get in a studio be, and why would you want to hang with them to make something?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm a big fan of the Butthole Surfers. I love that band. A friend of mine just recently, his name is C.M. Talkington. He just recently did an album with Paul Leary, who produced the record. And man, I love the way it sounds, because at times it sounds like a Butthole Surfers record, It sounds like him, but you can really tell that Paul Leary, put his sauce on it. And I may be like, man, I love the Butthole Surfers so much, but I don't know if I'd necessarily, if it would do. Well, gosh. You really caught me with my pants down, man. I was not prepared for this question. But yeah, not to copy my friend C.M. Talkington, but I am really thinking about, like, what it must be like to do a record with Paul Leary. Having said that, I am probably more inclined, if he were willing to do it, to go with Gibby Haynes from the Butthole Surfers, because the stuff that I've heard him produce, like the Reverend Horton Heat record, are he definitely has the the same kind of Midas touch that Paul Leary has, I think, and achieving something that is powerful yet strange yet psychedelic and also a little bit scary, you know. Cool. And so I finally think arrived at the conclusion that the answer to your question is going to be Gibby Haynes. Yes, Gibby Haynes.
Gibby Haynes for the win. You know, people who watch these and they you know, we've been at it a little while now, and they make it to this point. I'm a big advocate for supporting artists. So as everyone knows, you know, go out, purchase music, go to Bandcamp, buy some Lightnin Bill, right? Go buy some of his music, really enjoy it, tell your friends about it. You know, borrowing music on a streaming platform is nice for sampling, but support your artists. With that, who are 2 or 3 musicians? Look, we all know that you're a big Swiftie. Doesn't have to be a big, you know, huge star. But who are 2 or 3 that you're listening to right now that are really exciting for you, and that just, it's like your current earworm?
Band that recently changed their name to Soft Play. I like Soft Play. It's a 2-piece punk band from the UK. They have a new record called Heavy Jelly that I just love. And I'm annoying people by listening to it too much.
Nothing wrong with that.
But no, it just really hits home. It's got that. It's simple, and not. And I don't mean simple as a derogatory term at all. Of course, I mean it says exactly what needs to be said with just the right amount of words, the right amount of notes. There's some repetition that I think that works really well for them. I think their new record is fantastic. They used to go by Slaves. They changed their name a couple of years ago, and now all their music is you can stream it under Soft Play, even though the record covers still say Slaves. Soft Play is how you find them. Another band that I saw not too long ago is called Flummox, and they are they're a 5-piece band from Nashville, Tennessee. That are I say like they're punk and metal, and progressive, very progressive. I saw them do a very faithful cover of Travolta by Mr. Bungle, note for note, start to finish, and I was blown away that they had the audacity to attempt that and did it. It really made me mad that they didn't make any mistakes. But their original music is just as fun. It really, right away I was like, oh my god, my jaw was on the floor. I was like, this band is so good. So and I would say I already mentioned the ones I like from Punk Rock Bowling, you know, and Playboy Man Baby. If you were at Punk Rock Bowling, you might have seen Bobby Pfeffer, excuse me, from Playboy Man Baby was doing. He was kind of sort of a host and doing interviews and whatnot by the main stage. His band, Playboy Man Baby, is probably my favorite new American punk band. They're not new. They've been around several years, but they're new to a lot of people's ears. And they are live, they're out of this world. They're one of my favorite live bands I've ever seen, and I try to see them anytime they come through LA, or if I'm in the same town where they're at, I'm there. Cool. They're really, really fun live band. Yeah, really smart and really funny.
Awesome.
All the boxes check. Good music, smart, funny.
There you go. Well, hey everybody, there's three new bands to go check out. Again, purchase music, support artists. We have to, the business is different, and not every artist tours. Not every artist has the same opportunity, but we need to support them. So please, I make this plea every time. This has been great. This has been an awesome hang. And the best part is that James is on point. You got that, James? Hopefully you watched the whole thing. James now knows that he's going to get pressure from not one, not two, 3 people are going to pressure you, buddy. So let's get a hang together. So this has been great. I thank you so much for joining me. Everybody, hope you enjoy the guests we bring you here on the Hang. Tell your friends about it. Keep subscribing. Please share. We get some really great stories. And I'll be honest, I did my research on the gentleman you met today. We probably covered more about his life, his career, and how he feels about things than you can find information on the internet on. So this was definitely an opportunity to get to know you, and I really appreciate it.
I like being kind of anonymous online,
Now you're immortalized. Congratulations. This was great. This is great. Good to see you.
Thanks. Likewise, Scott. Great to see you
Three, two, one, zero, and liftoff.